Call this meeting of the Janesville City Council to order. With us this evening are scouts from the UAW Troop 595 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me now in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll let you guys start us off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In case of an emergency, please use the stairs, not the elevator at exit, and then walk to the north side of the police department and wait there for further instructions. Item 2 is roll call.
President Benson?
Here.
Vice President Marshak?
Here.
Councilmember Burdick?
Here.
Councilmember Miller? Here. Councilmember Nino?
Here.
Councilmember Williams?
Here.
And Councilmember Jackson, can you hear us?
Yes, here.
He is joining us virtually. All are present.
Thank you. Item 3 is public comments on items on the agenda not requiring a public hearing and on matters which can be affected by council action. We do have several public hearings this evening, so if you're here to speak on any of those public hearings, those items that we already have a public hearing, please hold your comment till then. Did anyone sign up to speak?
I have 3. We'll start with Rebecca Viam.
Is this for 921 Jackson? Well, let's hold it to that item then.
After the conveyance?
Yes. We can wait. Well, you can speak now if you'd like. Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's 3 items pertaining to that property.
Okay, yeah,
and
sure.
so it's kind of a difficult spot to place
Gotcha.
her.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rebecca Viam, 4006 Bordeaux Drive in Janesville. Good evening. I'm Rebecca Viam. I'm the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Janesville. And on behalf of our board of directors, I want to thank you for considering our proposed project this evening and conveyance of property for us to build a new facility. For some quick background, the Boys and Girls Club mission is to enable and inspire all youth, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible community members. We provide after-school and summer programming to kids ages 6 to 18. We are the most affordable after-school provider at just $20 a month for elementary-age youth and $5 a school year for teens. We provide evidence-based programs proven to support academics, healthy lifestyles, and good character development. Last year, 97% of our youth were low income. The need for affordable childcare in our community is evident in over 100 kids consistently on our waiting list. Not only this, but kids are struggling academically and social emotionally in our community. Our current facility lacks the space for us to increase our capacity and serve that waiting list. In 2021, we began exploring a capital campaign to build a new facility. One of our first investors in the project was indeed the City of Janesville through the Pay It Forward grant in $750,000 grant, demonstrating the city's commitment to helping us serve our community more. When we began selecting the new location, it was critical that it was large enough for us to be able to nearly triple our capacity, that it was in close proximity to our target population of low-income youth. The South Jackson Street location is in a HUD-qualified census tract and a severely distressed location. We also wanted to make sure that we were close to elementary schools and middle schools in our community, that it was on a bus line for easy access, had adequate space for a playground, parking, and green space, and that it was visible in our community. After extensively evaluating over a dozen locations, we believe the requested lots on South Jackson Street will allow us to best serve our mission and the kids and families who we serve. Building at this location will have a great impact on improving the surrounding neighborhood and services available to some of our most vulnerable community members in Janesville. The proposed location will allow us to nearly triple our enrollment and our capacity to serve those 100 kids that are on our waiting list. It will allow us to have a dedicated teen center to increase our workforce development programming. It will also allow for more intentional programming space for programs such as STEM and literacy. We'll also have a commercial kitchen where we will be able to prepare dinner and serve dinner to kids before they go home in a food desert. It will have a playground and a play structure and more space for community partnerships. This building, we believe, will serve as a transformational project in this area of town. The new state-of-the-art facility will be a beacon to the neighborhood, businesses, and entrepreneurs that the area is open and critical for continued redevelopment. Thank you for your consideration and the agenda items on the agenda this evening.
Councilor Williams has a question for you.
Yes.
What's your planned opening date?
So we hope to break ground in March of '24 and open by June of 2025 for our summer programming.
Okay, so your fundraising is pretty much 100%?
Not yet, but we are working on that.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Angela Pakes? Okay, Stacy Kincaid? Okay, that's all who are on the list.
Anyone else in chambers like to provide public comment on any items not currently requiring a public hearing on other matters that can be affected by council? You could approach, for sure, I think just one podium. Now we have two podiums again. I'm not sure. You can approach either podium, I suppose, and you'll have 4 minutes. Anyone wish to speak? Last call. Any written comments?
There were none.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 4, which is our city manager update with our city manager, Kevin Lehner.
Thank you, Council President Benson. I have a few updates for the council this evening, and I'm going to make it quick because we got lots on the agenda. It has nothing to do with the Packer game on tonight. So it's just a couple of things to know. In 2024, the senior center memberships are $25 for a year, and is open to citizens that are 50 and above. If you're thinking about a holiday gift and you haven't gotten it yet, please think about that. We do have free sidewalk sand available for Janesville residents at 920 Beloit at our Dawson softball complex, but you do need to bring your own shovels and containers. You need to purchase your 2024 dog and cat licenses at the clerk treasurer's office. You can find more information on our website. We do have a holiday tree here in City Hall where we're collecting items for our community Winter Wish community drive. We're specifically looking for items like toiletries, school supplies, and non-perishable food. And you can just drop that off right at the tree, and we will get it to those who need it. Just a quick reminder, we did have a bit of a fire in a garbage truck last week, and it's very likely that the cause was lithium-ion batteries. And so just as a public service announcement, you should never dispose of lithium-ion batteries in your regular trash. They're becoming a bigger problem as they become more popular. There are safe disposal options that you can review at our website, janesvillewi.gov/e-waste, where it will give you options of how to dispose of those lithium-ion batteries. No one was hurt, and the roughly $400,000 garbage truck was not hurt as well. We were able to safely put that out. We had the Jolly Jingle over the weekend. It was a success. I see they stuck the video of me throwing my hands up in joyous wonderment of the holidays at the lighting, and my kids did not flub the tree lighting ceremony. They successfully lit the tree, so we're very proud of that. There were more than 500 attendees. The hot chocolate and s'mores were good. The fireworks display was nice. We had the Luminary Walk, a maker's market, where we bought some Christmas gifts that evening. So overall, there's probably more than 1,000 attendees on the Friday evening. The lighted parade had more than 73 entries, which is a record, and probably roughly 5,000 attendees for the weekend. So just real special thank you to our recreation division and all of our sponsors and those who volunteered for those events. Tonight we're going to be talking about the comp plan update, and I just wanted to take a moment to recognize our planning staff, which are largely in the room back there hiding. they're in the back. They spent nearly 3 years of work updating the comp plan for this evening's meeting. And really, it's a really long, complex, heavily involved process, and I just want to recognize them for their work on the plan this evening. So thank you, team. Just for some events that are coming up, we do have a WISTOT public information meeting on Highway 14 at the Harmony Town Hall on Tuesday from 4:30 to 6. So they're doing an upgrade to that highway, and it does include a proposal for a roundabout at 14 and Harmony Town Hall Road, or Harmony Town Road. There was a special council meeting, an after-action review of the budget at City Hall on December 14th at 3:30. We have the Bags of Hope food drive on December 16th from 8 to 10. On December 16th, we have the Friends of the Oak Hill Chapel Christmas Bake Sale from 11 to 2 at the Oak Hill Chapel. And then on December 25th, 26th, and January 1st, we will be closed for the holidays. And now we have Park Place Views promo. And, you know, and when Nick gives this to me, all he does is give me this black screen. I don't get to see it beforehand.
Hello, City Council. It's Assistant to the City Manager and soon-to-be former host of Park Place Views, Nick Faust. And that's right, the rumors are true. After 2+ years of what I can only say is excellence in community broadcasting, I'm stepping aside and I'm going to go out on top like MJ. But don't fear, because I have a very special guest this month. The new host of this program, communication specialist Amanda Gilbert, stops by the show to tell us a little more about herself and talk all things communications and engagement. You're going to want to go ahead and tune in on Charter Spectrum Channel 994 or watch live now on JATVMedia Services YouTube page. Thank you and have a great meeting.
Let's not repeat that. All right. Oh, sorry, I'm messing this up. That's all I have.
Any questions for the city manager? Don't see any. We'll move to item 5, which is our Woodman Center update with our Public Works Director, Mike Payne.
Thank you, Council President. So the Woodman Center is still out for bid. And since the last time we got together, I wanted to give just a quick update here for the council. As of today, we're just over 40 plan holders. So that's, again, significant interest in the project. That's a combination of general contractors, subcontractors, material suppliers, and other vendors. So that's a good news story. Since we last talked 2 weeks ago, we have issued addendums number 2 and 3. The primary purpose of those addendums were changing the contract terms to respond to material substitution requests that are being submitted by the prospective bidders, to answer contractor questions as they continue to review and get further into the details of the project itself, whether that's the plans or the specifications. And then lastly, as a result of those material substitution requests and the contractor questions and clarifications, we are updating the plans and specifications to address those very items. We anticipate our last addendum to go out this Wednesday, and then end of this week, we're scheduled to close on the property, so that's a very exciting milestone for the property. As we had discussed a couple of meetings ago, there is a reversionary clause that's in the agreement. In the event that the Woodman Center does not move forward at this specific site location, then Rockstep Capital, who currently owns Uptown Janesville, formerly known as the Janesville Mall, that property would revert back to them. So bid opening for this project is going to be on Tuesday, December 19th. Next steps, council would consider the solar lease with Alliant Energy at the first meeting in January. And then second meeting in January, the council would consider the award of contract based on the bids that we opened December 19th. If that all happens, we would expect the contractor to mobilize for the site, site management, site safety, construction trailers and start gearing up for the demolition of the vacant Sears building sometime late February, with expected occupancy of the new facility in late summer of 2025. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Any questions for Mr. Payne? Councilmember Miller?
I do. When we are, and I don't know if this is a Mike Payne question or maybe somebody else, do we have, how do we go about a solar plan if we don't have the building itself set in stone? I mean, looking at the dates, and I'm looking at the award of a contract is later than the solar lease. And if we don't have a building, we don't have a solar lease. So is that a little bit backwards?
Well, what we've talked about in the past is once the city closes on the property and takes ownership of the property, we were comfortable in moving forward with the lease. And so if for whatever reason, and all the lease does is agree to the terms, and the lease would be coming to the council, and the council would see the terms and conditions of that lease. But that allows Alliant Energy to concurrently move forward in the next steps of their approval process. And if for whatever reason the council were not to award a construction contract on January 22nd, and there were not to be a Woodman Center, then that lease would be null and void. So we're basically working some concurrent processes here because of the long lead times related to the electrical components on the Alliant lease side of the project.
Gotcha. Okay. One other thing, being that we haven't decided how the facility, if it were to be built, would be operated, do we have an estimate or a plan of how snow removal and maintenance on the space, the area, over the winter is going to happen? Do we have any numbers? Did we plan for this? Because I don't see, or is that going to be a contingency item?
The budget that the council adopted for 2024 did include $15,000 for snow removal of the property itself, the parking lot of the property.
Okay.
The areas that the contractor is occupying, I think they're gonna likely be in charge of removal of that portion. But the rest of the property and the agreements that are in place between the city and Uptown Janesville do require maintaining public access through that parcel. And so that's what we would be looking to piggyback with the existing snow removal contractor that's doing the majority of the rest of the site. Our portion is so much smaller, and with one mobilization by the contractor to take care of that business, that's going to be most cost effective for the city. But we do have funds in the 2024 operating budget for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Items 6 through 17 will pass under consent unless requested to be pulled by a council member, and number 8 has been requested. Item 6 is regular city council meeting minutes on November 27. Item 7 is licenses and recommendations. Item 8 is consideration and action to adopt the City of Janesville 2024 to 2028 strategic plan. Item 9 is consideration and action to adopt the City of Janesville's 2024 federal and state legislative agenda. Item 10 is the final certified survey map 23022-C, City of Janesville, one lot and one outlot along South Jackson Street. Item 11 is the final certified survey map 23020-C, Camelback Petroleum Corp., two lots along Deerfield Drive. Item 12 is consideration and action on a proposed resolution designating city-owned property as surplus land and conveyance of city property located at 907, 921, 937, and 949 South Jackson Street and a portion of 320 West Sullivan Drive to the Boys and Girls Club of Janesville. Item 13 is consideration and action on a waiver of procedures for special assessments and sanitary sewer, water main, laterals, curb and gutter, and paving for the property located at 3430 West Mineral Point Road. Item 14 is consideration and action on a waiver of procedures for special assessments for sanitary sewer and water main for the property located at 2306 East County Trunk O. Item 15 is consideration and action on proposed changes to council policy statement number 62. Item 16 is consideration and action on a proposed resolution to appoint election inspectors for the 2024-2025 term. And Councilmember Williams would like to note that he's abstaining from that item on the record. And item 17 is a motion to cancel the second meeting in December. Other than item 8, which was requested by Councilmember Williams, any other requests to pull items off of the consent agenda for further discussion or action? I see none. So I will note that items 6 through 7 and 9 through 17 pass under consent, except for 16, which will pass under consent with Councilmember Williams abstaining. Councilmember Williams, you requested item 8. What would you like to discuss?
I had a couple of questions. On economy, it says assist in the development of Shine Medical Technologies annually, and it has $5 signs. Does that mean that annually to Shine, we're,
That's a Scribner's error, council member. If it is $5 signs, I would imagine that that's not the cost. So I could go ahead and review that and correct it.
it's on page 16 of
Thank you.
our thing here. Let's see here. I also, looking through this, I see nothing in the strategic plan concerning the Woodman Sports and Convention Center. And I see so many other buildings and constructions. Why isn't the Woodman Sports and Convention Center in our strategic plan? And also the old ice arena, on what we're going to do with that building.
Yeah. I think I'll defer to someone else to give a little more context, but I will say that if you will recall our discussions on the CIP, that is separate, being done separately from the CIP note issue, which you would consider in 2024 in May. The Woodman Center is being approached differently. As to why tasks don't appear on the strat plan for the 24 to 28, I would say that it might be helpful to incorporate that discussion in early spring when we start to approach a new strategic plan. Last week we've issued a request for proposals from qualified consultants for facilitating a strategic planning process. We will also broach the CIP process as a part of that. That RFP is open until January 5, if any consultants are listening. But then we will go ahead and it might be helpful to bring that to a facilitated session.
So nothing that's on the CIP is in the strategic plan?
No. Apologies if I misspoke. The Woodman Center is not on the CIP for 2024. If you'll recall from our meeting, that's being approached separately from the items on the 2024 CIP.
Okay. And are there other items that are dealt that way also?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I guess that's all I have for now.
Any other questions, Councilmember Miller?
I'm just wondering, I know that back in, I believe it was August, we had some discussion about lighting at the youth sports complex. And we were hoping to set money aside to do a study and evaluate what the needs actually were going forward, to look at the parking lot, to look at the fields that are barren, but have these piping and the pads. And so going forward, all I see in either one of the plans is a maintenance update that gets done every 3 years, and I don't see where that is scheduled either. And I understand maybe having more discussion in the spring, but doesn't that also put it off another year?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. I will default to somebody from Public Works if we need additional context. But if you'll recall, I believe we approached the youth sports complex as something that'll be done in-house in terms of a study. I think we talked about utilizing summer seasonal interns for that process. And I think that would be how we would approach it. As far as the lighting goes, I do think that would be helpful to revisit in 2024.
When I look at the schedule, it's noted for 2026, which puts it out actually 2 years instead of just a year.
Yeah, and again, what is considered in 2024 by the council is a note issue for projects in 2024. So I think it would perhaps be helpful to approach things in out years at a later date.
My reason for asking, I know that we have some pretty substantial projects, and we have somehow, somewhere found an awful lot, $500,000, in fact, to put in some brand new lighted pickleball courts in a park. And I'm asking this because we have parks, we have fields that are not necessarily fully usable because of the lack of lighting, and safety concerns when you look at children running around in some dimly lit areas where people park. And so I'm looking at safety of our community kids as a whole, and I feel like our priorities are a little bit mixed up.
If I could interject, I think we're getting pretty in depth on this item on the strategic plan. So I think either I don't think staff is probably prepared, since this was a consent item, to discuss it this in depth. So I guess I'll want to hear other input on the council. Maybe we need to send this back and have another discussion on this, or are you hoping to get a specific change made, Councilmember Miller, to the strategic plan?
I would like to have a change made and not see this kicked down
Yeah.
another 2 years before we look at it substantially for improvement.
I think there was consensus from the council at that on our CIP discussion that we wanted that as soon as possible too. So maybe I'll ask you, Kevin, could we approve this with just guidance to staff to maybe prioritize that if possible?
Yeah, I mean, you can make an amendment to move it up to 25 if you want.
Yeah.
Every item on here has importance to some level, and we're just
Sure.
trying to balance out what projects we do in what year. So
Sure.
it is up to you, or you can delay the vote on it and we can take another look at it. But there obviously are a variety of costs that are associated with that, and that's just a reflection of
Yeah.
those items.
Councilmember Miller, do you have a preference?
I would like to move it up.
Okay. Are you putting that in a motion to move that up into 25?
I would make a motion to move it up to 2025. Do the evaluations in 2024 for potentially installing or making improvements in 2025.
For the youth sports complex.
Correct.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second that.
Second by Marshik. Anything further, Councilmember Miller?
Nothing further.
Anything
Thank you.
further, Councilmember Marshik?
Nope, I think it's good. It's, we've got a ways to go to get that planned out, but the sooner we can get started, the better.
Yep, I agree. I think that was the consent of the council too, the consensus of the council last month, so I'll support that as well. All right, please vote on that item. We have a motion to move that sports complex project up to 25. Motion by Miller, second by Marshik. Please vote.
Councilmember Jackson, how do you vote? Councilmember Jackson, can you hear me?
Yes, I vote yes.
Thank you. Passes 7-0.
Okay, and that motion passes unanimously. We still have the remaining parts of the strategic plan to vote on the rest of the strategic plan, unless there's any more questions or motions on that item.
I'd make a motion that we adopt the City of Janesville 24-25, or 2024-2028 strategic plan, but I would like an update on the Shine Technology numbers.
Sure. I will second that motion. Anything further, Councilmember Williams? Anyone else wish to comment on this item? Okay, motion by Williams, second by Benson. Please vote.
You have a button now?
Nope.
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 No. Oh, no, I do.
Now we do. I do.
So it's-
Councilmember Jackson, how do you vote?
Doesn't work.
Yes.
Hit it 20 times and it'll work.
We have it, it doesn't work.
Just keep
It
Oh,
did.
there we go.
And that motion carries unanimously. That'll take us now through the consent agenda. Thank you, Nick. And move us to old business item 1, which is second reading, public hearing, and action on a proposed ordinance adopting an update to the City of Janesville Comprehensive Plan. File ordinance number 2023-882. And would the clerk please read the ordinance? Thank you, Boy Scouts.
Ordinance number 2023-882, an ordinance adopting an update to the comprehensive plan for the City of Janesville and Rock County, Wisconsin.
Someone forgot their pen who's sitting in the front, if you want to grab it for them. Oh, just the, there you go. With us this evening is our planning director, Dwayne Sherrick, who has a presentation on this item.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Good evening, City Council. Dwayne Sherrick, Planning Director for the City of Janesville. Tonight the City Administration is happy to bring forward an update to the City of Janesville's comprehensive plan. This follows more than 2 years of preparation in working with the steering committee directing the plan update process, various other agencies, stakeholders, members of the community, and the general public. My presentation this evening, hopefully, will intentionally be brief to provide what I guess I'd refer to as a high-level overview of the update, as well as the process. The full document has been available for public review for roughly 2 months. There have been several different presentations on the material included in the update, and I think before we kick this off, it would be important to note that there's some context within which I think the council and others in attendance and viewing tonight should understand a bit before we get into the details of the plan overview. And that is the city's current comprehensive plan was adopted in 2009, and that was adopted under the state's comprehensive planning legislation, which periodically requires municipalities to go back to their plans, revisit their plans, and update them accordingly based on changing community needs and/or conditions. The comprehensive plan update and the plan itself provides a long-term vision for the city's future. future. It provides a variety of goals, objectives, policies, plans, and recommendations within various elements, which we'll touch on in a moment. It's the city's blueprint for growth and development over no less than a 20-year time frame. It requires that all land use decision-making actions that pertain to things such as zoning, subdivision of land, official mapping, for instance, must be consistent with a community's adopted plan. And we recognize that following the plan's 2009 adoption, that its guiding principles and recommendations have served the community of Janesville particularly well. Those guiding principles drove the comprehensive plan update and process, We recognize that the plan that we have is still very much relevant and vibrant. Overall, the existing document provided a solid framework for the update. We did not conduct a whole-scale rewrite of this plan. It was a targeted effort and update. We established public participation procedures at the onset of the plan, consistent with state requirements. Those involve the creation of a steering committee. The steering committee is comprised of the Plan Commission, just as it had been in 2009 with the adoption of the current plan. It also set forth a variety of mechanisms that ensure public input was provided throughout all stages of the planning process, including the public hearing tonight, public hearing before Plan Commission, a public open house, and no less than 12 steering committee meetings that occurred since September of 2021. The plan itself is a bit large. It contains 2 volumes. Volume 1 is an analysis or overview, if you will, of existing conditions within the community. Touches on 9 different elements, both in the Volume 1 and Volume 2 sections. Volume 2 builds on Volume 1, providing those recommendations for change that the community envisions over the next 20-year time frame. The slide here includes a public health listing. That's not required under state law. That was added to this plan based on the direction provided by the steering committee and the need to address public health factors, which are so closely tied to community development and the planning process. Just real quickly, included in the packet, included on the city's webpage devoted to this is an executive summary. That executive summary is a highlight of the key recommendations in each of the plan elements. It also breaks down those recommendations by the 4 major geographic areas of the city that we refer to as sub-areas. And if anyone wants to know or learn much more about the comprehensive plan, back on October 16th, roughly 2 months ago, a public open house was held. Staff provided a video recorded presentation that gets into much more detail and description of the plan update itself. In terms of public health, the plan modifications were driven by changing community needs and priorities that have occurred over the past decade. Public health has served as a guiding lens for the plan update, emphasizing the relationship between planning and public health, recognizing that community health and overall well-being is influenced by our built environment. And that more walkable, bikeable, mixed-use neighborhoods, activating communities, community features, serves the overall health and well-being of the community as well. The crux, the essence of other plan changes generally revolve around the notion of establishing what we refer to as complete neighborhoods, as well as the promotion of Janesville's economy, or promotion of economic development in general. Complete neighborhoods, what does that refer to? Emphasizing the need to address, to meet the additional housing demand that exists within the community, not unlike many others within the state, the region, and the country, providing a greater variety of housing types, availability, affordability, uses, densities, enhancing neighborhood desirability, improving community health outcomes, supporting more active lifestyles, and then on into the implementation. Focus here is guiding zoning and subdivision code reform. In terms of economic change, continuing to grow Janesville's economy with workforce development, expansion, retention, attraction, supporting entrepreneurship, industrial expansion. We've talked a lot in this plan update process about redevelopment of older areas, commercial corridors, gateways to the city, utilizing underutilized property in a better manner. We spoke much about planned mixed use, the integration of more than just one use, sole use on a property, vertically, horizontally, mixing residential, business, service, office uses together to maximize development and improvement within those locations. And that can be existing locations and new locations. The preeminent reference generally thought of in the comprehensive plan goes back to this map. This map identifies future land uses that are designated on property within the city and within the city's growth boundary around the perimeter of the city, where we expect to grow within the next 20 to up to 50 years. Much of this map largely remains intact. Little change had occurred. The reason that little change had occurred is that the map, as well as those future land uses, continue to be well suited to deliver the plan's vision for neighborhood development and community development. The revisions were limited to, I think, 11 different sites, properties that had a change in zoning designation over the past decade or so that deviates from the land use recommendation included in the comprehensive plan. And finally, there's recognition that this is a living, breathing document. It's expected to change over time. That change occurs through an amendment process to the text, as well as potentially this map to respond to changing market conditions, unique economic development opportunities, landowner preferences, and so on and so forth. And that process is defined in the plan. Finally, moving on to implementation. Implementation itself falls generally into two categories. That includes change that can be brought about through zoning and subdivision code reform. We refer to that as land development codes or regulations. And then consideration to provide more detailed planning to promote redevelopment, new development, provide greater housing options, as well as stimulate economic growth here locally. In terms of zoning and subdivision code reform, the next step in implementation, which will commence here shortly after comprehensive plan adoption, will be the pursuit of a update to the city's zoning and subdivision ordinance, and that involves a complete rewrite of our code. The current city zoning ordinance was adopted in 1981. It is outdated, it is cumbersome, it provides or serves as providing certain regulatory barriers. It doesn't allow for current mixed use and other contemporary schemes that promote some of the recommendations in the plan. And we need to create standards that I believe are more responsive and direct growth in a manner that aligns with market conditions. In addition to the land development update, there are other recommendations included in the plan that call for targeted or supplemental planning activities that coincide with this plan update. For instance, there's a need for more detailed planning to demonstrate how new neighborhoods can develop with that mixture of housing that we're referring to or recommending in the plan, providing greater opportunities for connectivity, transportation options, access to neighborhood commercial goods and services, and of course all of the recreational spaces that we have come to know and enjoy in Janesville. Additionally, with the code update, when we talk about special study areas, sub-areas, focus areas, that can include commercial corridors. It can include areas on the edge that need additional attention or insight on land use compatibility arrangements that potentially could warrant updating following the plan's adoption. We did not go back as part of this effort and update those sub-area plans. That extended beyond the scope of this update, which is a targeted update, and likely can be prioritized through further council discussion and action in that regard. And then lastly, with the code, Janesville will continue to position itself for long-term economic growth and expansion across all sectors. That includes industrial, We have various industrial nodes within the community. This image is intended to depict the need to plan for future industrial expansion and growth with infrastructural needs, as you can see. Lastly, this evening, the city administration is recommending that the council adopt file ordinance number 2023-882, adopting an official update to the City of Janesville Comprehensive Plan. I will add that state statutes define specifically roles for Plan Commission as well as common councils or the authorities with the review of final adoption with specific purpose. Under the statutes, the Plan Commission is designated to make plans, master plans for the city. They go through that process and ensure that it meets the statutory requirements, and then through their review and recommendation, offer up a final comprehensive plan, or in other cases, an amendment to the council for the council's consideration. The council can elect to adopt the plan as it's recommended, or deny or reject the plan as recommended by Plan Commission in that regard. And at this time, I guess I would like to introduce Kathy Voskel. Kathy is a longtime Plan Commission member for the Janesville Plan Commission. She has also served as the Plan Commission Chair and Chair for the Steering Committee throughout this update process, and believe she would like to speak a bit about the update effort.
Thanks, Dwayne. Council President and council members, my name is Kathy Voskel. As Dwayne shared, I'm the chair of the Plan Commission. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that Councilmember Williams and Councilmember Jackson, wherever he might be, are representatives of the City Council on the Plan Commission as well as the Steering Committee. And I'd also like to recognize Commissioner Markline, who is also here in capacity as a citizen, but he's also a member of the Plan Commission. So I wanted to just share some very brief comments. I'm well aware of what's happening while we're all here. So the City of Janesville Comprehensive Plan is literally the benchmark for all Plan Commission reviews. In the process of reviews, we ensure consistency with the comprehensive plan as the city's master plan. And numerous city plans are rolled up into the comprehensive plan. For example, the long-range transportation plan, the City of Parks plan, the established neighborhood plan, the historic preservation plan, and downtown plans such as Arise, which was relatively recently adopted into the comprehensive plan. The plan, I did ask at the dais that you would receive a bigger picture of this public timeline. I'm hoping that it's there. The reason why I wanted to show you this is because, as you can see from the timeline, we started in 2021 during a pandemic, and we had to come up with creative ways to not only hold our Plan Commission hearings and steering committee meetings, but also to engage the public. And so the city did a variety of, the staff that was recognized earlier this evening, did a variety of different ways, incorporating a website, putting things in mailers, having all of our meetings that were public. And so you can see from 2021 till 2023, this is what we have been working on in conjunction to other Plan Commission agenda items that come. So we met as a steering committee, I believe, 12 times as steering committee, and then we had our additional Plan Commission meetings as well during the month. So I wanted to make you aware of this, and for those of you that are in the audience, that it has been over a 2-year time period of which we were in the process of updating portions of the comprehensive plan. We realize that we have work to do, such as land development reform and additional planning on various topics or other areas of the city, such as the commercial or the gateway corridors. This ongoing work will continue to be a public process of engaging the residents of Janesville, community leaders, and organizations. As City Council begins implementation of the strategic plan, which we heard this evening about, we anticipate the need for more detailed information within the comprehensive plan, requiring additional studies that often arise through your council study recommendations. So I know, Dwayne, can you get the other, I refer to it as a bubble diagram. I love bubble diagrams. You may, you may. And I think this really kind of sums it up nicely, which is the path forward, where we're literally building upon a decade of reinvention, revitalization, and growth. We want to create more complete neighborhoods through this plan. We want to continue economic growth, and we want to support community health and well-being, which I will say, as a plan commission, we were very proud to include public health, addressing some of the social determinants of health as it relates to how we continue to grow here at the city. In closing, I'd like to extend my personal gratitude to all of you for your ongoing and continued commitment to the city of Janesville and the residents of the city of Janesville. Thank you very, very much for your service, and we at the Plan Commission and the Steering Committee look forward to continuing to work on the comprehensive plan, which is what we do every month when we meet twice a month. And as we get charges from the council, as you look at additional studies to incorporate those in the comprehensive plan. So with that, I'll stop, ask if there's any questions that possibly myself or Dwayne, probably more Dwayne, can answer specific to the plan. But thank you very much.
Any questions about the plan? And again, just to clarify, Dwayne, we cannot amend. We can approve or not approve, correct? Not that we would ever amend from the dais, but.
Yeah, I think the short answer is that is correct.
Okay.
If there were substantial changes that would warrant a restart of the process, at least as statutorily defined.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the planning director, Councilmember Miller?
It's not really a question, but Dwayne, I want to extend my gratitude. I've noticed in this update that we've seen the Westgate corridor, the Southgate corridor, and really the South Side in general be a little bit more specific to some of the improvements. And I really appreciate the integrity and really putting the effort into noticing some of the areas that need a little TLC. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
With that, I would make a motion to approve.
I gotta do the public hearing first, but
Oh,
then,
I'm
but then
sorry.
I'll take you over that. Councilmember Marcy, do you have a question?
Just a quick question, not on so much the comprehensive plan, but we talk about looking at the zoning and ordinances and stuff. What does that look like? What's the process? What's the timeline?
Sure. So what we're referring to here with that follow-up effort is a complete rewrite of the land development codes, and there are essentially two, potentially affecting some other codes because zoning ties into building codes and other things. But a rewrite of the code is an evaluation of the entire the document, determining what new classification of zoning districts is appropriate for the community. We talked about planned mixed use. There's a variety of others. And then it's also applying not only that text and the establishment of those districts, but applying those districts to a remapping of the city in its entirety. And the other element that pertains to land divisions, the subdivision ordinance, is a component of the land development code, and that's actually, believe it or not, much older, various sections. The process itself would have to be consultant-led. And my best guess estimate as to the time frame, the scope, you're looking at probably no less than 18 months to go through an engagement process, an input process, draft versions and discussions of districts, and then working through that process. And so it is our intent very shortly hereafter to formulate an RFP, a proposal, to get that out and get response to that, to flesh some of those details of the scope out, and then go from there.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a very important next step, so I'm glad to hear we're moving quickly on that.
Councilmember Williams, you have a question?
On that same point, if the comprehensive plan allows a mixed use, but our zoning ordinance does not, in that 18 months, so it still can't be done, even though the comprehensive plan shows it, but
Yeah.
until the,
Sure. We, The comprehensive plan sets forth policy guiding recommendations to promote that, to advocate for that, to set the stage for that to occur. You are correct in the sense that outside of the downtown district, there is no existing zoning category classification that truly allows for an integration of multiple uses such as planned mixed use that we're advocating here. In the event that we had a unique development opportunity that materialized before those occurred, there would be always the option, the alternative to create a district as an interim mechanism. Short of that, we've been fairly creative over the years to try and find ways through not a truly vertical mixed use, but to combine uses. So the short answer is you're correct, but there would be some way to work through that.
Okay. But there still is a possibility. So if somebody sees something that they really like in the comprehensive plan, but it's not allowed
Right.
technically under our
Right.
zoning code right now, they should still come forward and talk to
I
you.
believe so. That would give us the opportunity to address that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions before I open the public hearing? See no questions.
Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Dwayne. I will open the public hearing on this matter if you'd like to speak. Councilmember Jackson, do you have a question?
Comment. Dwayne?
Yeah, go ahead.
You and I, well, we on the planning commission talked about at length the complete neighborhood concept. In light of the affordability factor on housing, what effect will the complete neighborhood concept have on affordability of housing? It's a remake of how we do neighborhoods, a significant remake. And I'm just curious, will it be neutral? Will it increase the cost of housing, decrease it? Your thoughts, please.
Sure. So I think everyone heard the question. The update provides various recommendations to try and bring about a mixture of housing types. In fact, it indicates in areas that are designated as planned neighborhood, which is largely mapped around the entire periphery of the city, that as those areas develop, there need to be more than one type of housing proposed. In other words, more than just if someone wanted to come in and do just single-family housing, they have to have no less than two types of housing. It could be anything from multifamily to two-family duplex type development, but they need to offer some combination, some mix, and that's trying to get at a diversity of housing, availability, affordability. We've gone certainly well beyond just the two and advocated that there be applied what's referred to as a residential balance that tries to get at, for instance, the figure is 60-40 by percentage of total housing units in a development, that 40% or in that neighborhood can be devoted to higher density residential, two-family on up to high density, to promote that. There's certainly recognition that choice matters. Choice is necessary, especially in today's environment, and providing a mix of housing, much like you see in older parts of the city, the old sections, the Fourth Ward, look west, where it works. You can have a combination of housing types and uses that pull all that together. In terms of the cost, I don't know. I can't answer that question regarding cost, but I think options and availability tends to lead to favorable change in design that's more cost effective.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I will open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak on this item, please approach either podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 4 minutes. The public hearing is now open.
Good evening, City Council, Plan Commission members, City Planning, and other city staff here tonight. My name is Angela Pakes. I'm the president and CEO of Forward Janesville, 14 South Jackson Street. I just want to commend the group's work and effort here tonight. The city of Janesville has experienced tremendous change in the last 10 years, even since greatly since the 2009 comprehensive plan. And the change is a result of the passion of residents have for the community, as well as a strong collaboration between the business and the city. I'd like to acknowledge the city staff that spent a lot of time on the comprehensive plan update. This was an in-house effort, and although it took longer than it would have maybe if this was outsourced or something like that, the city staff and volunteer steering committee spent a lot of time on it and they took it seriously. The partnership that took form engaged the private sector and the community greatly. Staff and the steering committee, they reimagined the economic development chapter and made effort to be inclusive in ideas like workforce development and supporting our educational institutions. I know the conversation about zoning is really key, and it's part of why it's coming up tonight. Update to zoning is really the first in the line of dominoes that, once updated and pushed forward, will make a lasting boost. And as City Council, updates to the zoning code will shorten the permit times and streamline building processes for staff at the city. Builders and homeowners will benefit as well. It will add more homes to our tax base, bring more workforce to businesses, and children to our schools. And growing our school-age population will in turn grow our future workforce. That will be something incredible that you can all look back on and be very proud of in years to come. Several communities around us, though, have already updated their zoning code, making this a pressing matter. And the timeliness, as you just spoke, is really important to this. Our businesses face workforce recruitment constraints when there are few places to live in Janesville. The school district faces enrollment challenges when families have to find housing in other communities. So we support activities like the plan's use of the complete neighborhoods concept. It bakes economic and social sustainability into the pie while helping Janesville better compete with our peer cities and communities across the state line. We look forward to partnering on meaningful, actionable, and timely changes to the zoning code that will help our community achieve the goals and objectives outlined in the plan. I'd like to just mention that I'm reminded often by Dwayne and others that since the Arise plan, there has been a new era of relationship building and collaboration between the public-private sector, and we all appreciate that. In a true public-private partnership fashion, we are trying to make things easier, balanced, and in the true spirit of collaboration. It is very different here in Janesville. We're not too big to know who's doing what, or that many can hide behind the efforts of few. And we're also not too small that there are few resources and everyone's exhausted. We are just right. Janesville is right-sized and our partnerships are like-minded. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Douglas Mark Lane, 3865 Red Hawk Court, member of the Plan Commission. I think it's important not to focus so much on the time we spent putting this together, the 2 to 3 years it took to put it together, but focus on the time you spent reading it. I think it's well worth the 2 to 3 hours it would take to read this and understand it. The comprehensive plan is what we heard tonight. It's a set of priorities. It's a guide on how to move forward with Janesville. It addresses our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats to growth in the city of Janesville. But it's only one pillar on a three-legged stool. The second pillar is more of a staff-driven one, and that is updating our zoning and our ordinances. When we last did this in 2008, 2009, that was the second step. And it's 2023, and we haven't taken that second step. So it's important for the city council to make sure that the city takes that second step. I understand it's been funded, and they're working on staffing. 18 months is a long time. If it can get done quicker, our community will be the better for it. That's the second step. Third one, and I think the most important one, is we can use the RISE as a guide, but we need community input. As you can see, there's not too many people talking here tonight on the comprehensive plan for the adoption. But I can tell you that if and when somebody wants to amend it, you will have a room full of people here that are experts, or they think they are experts, on what the comprehensive plan and our zoning says. So it's important, and this is where the council comes in. I think it's important for the council to start forward, be the impetus to have regular neighborhood meetings on especially the core corridors that are identified in the plan, and work with property owners, business owners, neighborhood groups, people that live in the neighborhood and the community themselves, bring them together and work out a plan for that area where everybody can have their input. That sounds like pie in the sky, but it worked for a rise. There's no reason why it couldn't work for our other corridors that need the input. The other one that I would say, those are the 3 steps of the stool, is some of the things that we're proposing in this thing are awfully expensive. To Councilmember Jackson's point, we have to find out ways to make these things affordable. One thing that stands out to me is if you want to do a subdivision, they're asking for detailed plans right up front. I would propose that the city work with developers as it comes forward and give them some guidance so they know how to prepare a detailed plan that will suffice for the city's needs. Having somebody develop a plan and come in and have it shot down because it wasn't what the city is looking for is a waste of a lot of money. And the word gets out and we don't get people coming forward to do developments in our city because we are the city that says no. We've turned that around, but we need to keep always pushing and reminding people that we work with you when we help out. Thank you so much. My time is up.
Thanks, Doug. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? Anyone else wish to speak? Last call for the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion from the council? Councilmember Miller, I think you were going to make a motion.
Yes, I move to adopt file ordinance 2023-882, City of Janesville Comprehensive Plan.
Motion by Councilmember Miller and a second by Councilmember Williams. Anything further, Councilmember Miller?
Nothing further. Thank you for your efforts.
Anything further, Councilmember Williams?
Just kind of amazed in the one photo there. I had less mustache and I had more hair up here, but it's been that long a time. So,
Anyone else wish to comment on this item?
Yeah, just a big thank you. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's very much appreciated.
Yep, and thank you for your comments, Kathy and Doug. I hope the council and staff take those to heart. I agree with you both, and I was very excited to read about this whole neighborhood plan. I'd never heard of that term until I read this, but it's I think it could really move Janesville forward, so I'm excited about it. All right, please vote.
Councilmember Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously. Old business items 2 and 3 we'll take together. Item 2 is second reading public hearing on an action on a proposed ordinance annexing property located at 3430 Mineral Point Avenue, and second reading public hearing on and action on a proposed ordinance zoning property located at 3430 Mineral Point Avenue to R1 single family and 2 family residence district upon annexation. And Trey Myers here, an associate planner, to give us a presentation on these items.
Thank you, Council President Benson. See if I can get my slides up here. Okay. Jennifer Vogel has submitted a valid unanimous petition to annex 0.38 acres of property located at 3430 Mineral Point Avenue. The site is contiguous to city limits on its north side and located along the north side of Mineral Point Avenue between North Austin Road and Greenway Drive in the town of Janesville. The subject site includes a single-family residence and detached garage with an existing well and septic system that has experienced failure. The owner desires to receive public utilities and has submitted a petition to annex the property in order to allow for a permanent connection to city utilities. Both municipal water and sewer are available along the Mineral Point Avenue frontage of the site, and service stubs were previously extended to the subject property in order to facilitate the utility connections now desired by the property owner. The city's comprehensive plan designates the property as planned neighborhood, and residential districts, including the R1 district, are listed by the plan as an appropriate zoning classification for property with this future land use designation. Continued use of the property for single-family residential purposes would be permitted within the R1 district, and therefore application of the R1 district upon annexation is consistent with adopted city plans and an appropriate zoning classification for the subject property. At its meeting on November 20th, the Plan Commission voted to unanimously forward a positive recommendation relative to the R1 zoning district for the property. And with that in mind, the city is recommending that following a public hearing, the City Council adopt file ordinances number 2023-880 and 2023-881, annexing and zoning to R1 property located at 3430 Mineral Point Avenue. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Meyer before I open the public hearing? I don't see any questions right now. Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on old business items 2 and 3. Public hearing is now open. Would anyone like to speak on this item? Anyone like to speak on this item? Last call for the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Any written comments on this item?
There were none.
Do I have a motion by the council?
I move to adopt ordinances numbers 2023-880 and 2023-881, annexing and zoning to R1 property located at 3430 Mineral Point Avenue.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Williams, and I think I saw actually Councilmember Nino first with the second. Anything further, Councilmember Williams?
Now, it looks like we've got one more property there, and it's where
Potential.
we'll end up with, just like we did on Austin Road, that part of it is in the township, and so, but it's the right thing to do, so.
Anything further, Councilmember Nino?
Changed a lot since high school.
Anyone else wish to comment on this item? Please vote.
Councilmember Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now handle old business items 4 and 5 together. Very similar here. Item 4 is second reading, public hearing, and action on a proposed ordinance annexing the property at 2306 East Delavan Drive. Item 5 is second reading, public hearing, and action on a proposed ordinance zoning property located at 2306 East Delavan Drive to R1 single family and 2-family residence upon annexation. Would the clerk please read the ordinance?
Ordinance number 2023-883, an ordinance annexing territory located at Section 6 T2N R13E of the 4th PM Town of La Prairie, Rock County, Wisconsin. Ordinance number 2023-884, an ordinance changing and establishing the zoning classification of property located at 2306 East Delavan Drive to R1 upon annexation.
Thank you. And Associate Planner Trey Meyer is back for a presentation on these two items.
Again, Council President Benson, Dre Meyer, Associate Planner. Sarah and Marie Churchill have submitted a valid unanimous petition to annex 0.31 acres of property located at 2306 East Delavan Drive. The site is contiguous to city limits on its south side and is located along the south side of East Delavan Drive between Todd Drive and South Reed Road in the town of La Prairie. The subject site includes a single-family residence with an existing well that is not functional. The owners desire to receive public utilities and have submitted a petition to annex the property in order to allow for a permanent connection to city utilities. Both municipal water and sewer are available along the East Delavan Drive frontage of the site currently. The city's comprehensive plan designates the property as single-family residential urban, and the R1 district is listed by the plan as an appropriate zoning classification for property with this future land use designation. Continued use of the property for single-family residential purposes would be permitted within the R1 district. Therefore, application of the R1 district upon annexation is consistent with adopted city plans and an appropriate zoning classification for the subject property. At its meeting on November 20th, the Plan Commission voted to unanimously forward a positive recommendation relative to the R1 zoning district for the property. And with that in mind, the city is recommending that following a public hearing, City Council adopt file ordinance numbers 2023-883 and 2023-884, annexing and zoning to R1 property located at 2306 East Delavan Drive. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, Mr. Meyer, before the public hearing? I don't see any questions, so I will now open the public hearing on old business items 4 and 5. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to speak on this item? Anyone wish to speak? Last call. Any written comments?
There were none.
Public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion from the council on old business items 4 and 5?
I move we adopt file ordinances 2023-883 and 2023-884.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second by Burdick. So motion by Nino, second by Burdick. Anything further on these items? Anything further? Anyone else wish to comment? Please vote.
Councilmember Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. That'll take us to old business item 6, which is second reading, public hearing and action on a proposed ordinance rezoning the property located at 921 South Jackson Street from M2 to B3. Would the clerk please read the ordinance?
Ordinance number 2023-885, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of property located at 921 South Jackson Street from M2 General Industrial District to B3 General Commercial District with penalty and injunctive relief for the violation thereof as set forth in section 42-332 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Janesville.
Thank you. And we have our senior planner, Brian Schwagel, here for our presentation on this item.
Thank you, Council President. I'm Brian Schweigel, Senior Planner. This request was submitted by the city's Economic Development Office on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club of Janesville. The council approval of the requested rezoning is necessary to allow construction of a new Boys and Girls Club facility on land currently owned by the city. The image that you see on the screen is an architectural rendering of the new building on South Jackson Street. This next slide is a second rendering of that same single-story, 35,000 square foot building. The Plan Commission reviewed the development details of the proposed project and approved a conditional use permit for the development last month. The subject property is located along the east side of South Jackson Street between the Rock River and West Delavan Drive. The 3-acre Boys and Girls Club development site is outlined in black on the map on the screen. Most of the site is zoned B3 General Commercial District, but the portion that you see outlined in yellow is zoned M2 General Industrial District, reflective of its past industrial land uses. This is an excerpt from the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map. The purple area on the map has a planned mixed-use designation, and the plan calls for these areas to serve as vibrant community gathering places, and staff feel that the Boys and Girls Club project aligns well with this. The comprehensive plan suggests a blend of land use designations to implement the planned mixed-use concept, including those which identify the B3 zoning district as appropriate. The green coloration on the map is parks, open spaces, and environmental corridors. And it's important to note that the boundaries that you see between future land use designations on the map are based upon existing parcel lines rather than precisely defining how public spaces should be configured in this area. The city will retain ownership of the recreational trail corridor along the east side of the site, along with the riverfront land along the north side of the site for continued public use, maintenance, and improvement. And accordingly, staff find that the requested rezoning is consistent with established city plans. Staff did receive 3 written comments in support of the proposed project, and those are attached to our report on this item. The Plan Commission reviewed the requested zoning change along with the conditional use permit last month and voted unanimously to forward the request to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. So in summary, the rezoning is necessary for the Boys and Girls Club project to proceed. It's consistent with established city plans, supported by staff, and endorsed by the Plan Commission. Therefore, the city recommends that following a public hearing, the council adopt file ordinance 2023-885 as proposed. The project representatives are in attendance this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for me.
Any questions for Mr. Swagel on this? Okay. Seeing no requests, no questions, we will open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak on this item, please approach the podium. You have 4 minutes. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak on this item? Last call. Public hearing is now closed. Any written comments other than the ones mentioned?
There were none.
Do I have a motion from the council? Councilmember Miller?
I would move to approve the ordinance rezoning 921 South Jackson Street from M2 to B3, file ordinance 2023-885.
Motion by Councilmember Miller. Do I have a second? Sure. Vice President Marshak. Motion by Miller, second by Marshak. Anything further, Councilmember Miller?
Nothing further.
Anything further?
Just excited. This is a great project. It's a great organization that really serves our community well, and I'm excited for this project.
Yep, me too. Very excited. Great public-private partnership. I'm glad that this finally is getting to the finish line. So thank you for your hard work, Boys and Girls Club folks, as well as city staff. I know Jim Z and her team have worked a lot on this, so thank you, as well as the planners. All right, please vote.
Councilmember Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. Takes us to new business item 1, which is consideration and action on a proposed resolution authorizing a general fund supplemental budget appropriation for calendar year 2023 for snow removal, neighborhood and community services, general fund drawdown, and contingency. And Dave Godek, our finance director, is here for a presentation.
Thank you, Council President Benson. Good evening, City Council. Dave Godek, Finance Director. Before the Council tonight is Resolution 2023-2178. This is a general fund budget amendment for the 2023 budget. It's a supplemental appropriation. And there's, I'll go through what we're asking the council to do the appropriation for and then some of the reasoning behind it. And then I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have. So what our proposal is a supplemental budget appropriation. It's first going to transfer $56,427 from the general fund to the COVID-19 fund. This is a fund that we created back in 2020 to address COVID-19 and the challenges that the community faced at that time. Currently, there's a $56,400 deficit in that fund. This will eliminate that deficit. We'll close that fund out. Next, we recommend transferring $25,000 from the general fund to the town square repairs fund. This is going to cover a deficit in repairs that have occurred to the town square. In addition, it will put a little seed money in there for recurring maintenance and repairs that we know are going to occur over the next several years. We've got two very minor funds here, the WSCC Donations Fund and the DROP Program Fund, that each have negative balances of $445 and $69. This will just eliminate those. We'll close those funds out. On this next slide is where we get into the big numbers. The first is a transfer of $2 million from the general fund to the capital account. We increase funding for snow removal in the amount of $100,000. Increase funding for neighborhood and community services, specifically the recreation division, in the amount of $125,000. And then create a contingency account of $3,174,059. That all totals $5,481,000 in additional appropriations. What I would share with the council at this point is the $3.2 million almost in contingency is really just being spent to increase our ERP limit in future years. We have no intention to spend that money. We have nothing to spend that money on. Any funds that come out of that contingency line item would have to come back to the council for approval, would have to be voted on by a supermajority of the council to approve. We don't have any of that. It's one of the accounting games that we have to play because of the state's ERP requirements, and levy limit requirements. With the other large items, the 2023 budget anticipated snow removals of $1,565,157. As of October 31st, the snow removal budget's 78% expended at $1.221 million. Expenses are $292,000 or 32% higher than they were at this time last year. We expect that we could go $100,000 over budget, but as you'll remember from Operation Director Maggie Darr's presentation a couple of meetings ago, we might not. It all depends. Snow could happen, snow could not happen. We want to be prepared if it does. Any expenditure here that the council approves that does not get spent will fall back to the fund balance at the end of the year. Neighborhood and Community Services in the Recreation Division anticipated $1.553 million in expenses. As of October 31st, that budget is 95% expended, totaling $1.221 million. Those are $298,337 or 25% higher than 2022. We're projecting overspending that budget by up to $125,000. Again, this will bring that budget back into line, and anything that's not spent would fall back to the general fund balance. Overall, the 2023 general fund budget is expected to produce a surplus of about $1.1 million. And really where we're seeing a large positive is in our interest income. As you probably note from the monthly financial statements that you get, that number has far exceeded the budget all year with interest rate increases. But it's a double-edged sword. It creates the issue that we're running into violation of Council Policy 89, which is fund balance. That requires the city to have 16.7 to 25% of the next year's budgeted operating expense in unrestricted fund balance. We're currently projecting $12,551,000 to be in the unrestricted fund balance at the end of the year. That would put us at 26.5%. We have to report each year as part of the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, the audit, where we stand in relation to policies, particularly our fund balance policy. I don't want to say when we do that we are in violation of council policy because we have too much money. The $2 million transfer that would go to the capital improvement program, really what that's going to do is it's going to take that money out of the unrestricted fund balance. It's just going to put it over into the capital fund. It's going to give us flexibility for financing of capital projects in 2024 and perhaps beyond. And so that's that piece of the request. I've gotten a little bit ahead of the slides, and we do expect that the total transfers of $2,081,941, and that doesn't include the contingency line item, is going to bring the unrestricted fund balance to an estimated 22.1% of 2024 expenditures. It'll change a little bit based on how much snow does or doesn't use, how much NCS does or doesn't use, but we'll certainly be well within policy at that point. And 22.1% is still a very strong fund balance. This chart here just shows where our fund balance is at 12/31 of each year and where we project that change in fund balance to be. 2023, we're thinking that the fund balance is going to be $13.5 million. We used $12.5 million because $1 million of that we expect to be restricted and unspendable. And so that's why we're at that 26.5%. Moving these funds is going to provide us financial flexibility in making capital funding decisions. This is just a chart, and the administration's recommendation is that the council adopt file resolution 2023-2178. I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
I've got a question. It's on that capital account. Again, that money couldn't be spent without further council approval and could be moved back into the fund if we needed to, correct?
We would not anticipate spending that money without council taking some action.
Okay.
Or at least being made aware of it. Could it be moved back into the general fund if we needed it? I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I would assume yes, but I would have to do more research on that. And if that's something that you would like an answer to, I'll certainly research that.
I mean, I anticipate we'll spend at least $2 million on capital projects next year, so I wouldn't say I'm overly worried about it. But your first answer, what would be a circumstance where staff would spend the $2 million without council approval? That's a lot of money.
It is. Let's say, for example, we had an emergency, we would come back for supplemental after the fact approval from the council. Not that this would cost $2 million, I don't think. I would defer to Mike on this. But if the boiler in this building were to just die tomorrow,
Okay.
we would make the expenditure because we have to have heat. But we would come back to the council and say, we need you to retroactively approve this.
Okay. And just 'cause it's a lot of money, Kevin, could you chime in on this too? Is there any reason why staff would spend this money on like an unanticipated project short of an emergency or act
No, I
of
mean,
God?
more than likely, it's gonna be spent on, to not issue debt for a project that's already been approved. And
Okay.
so it's really, you can almost say you're not borrowing the full amount, you're able just to use the cash on hand to fund
Okay.
an existing project. That's the most likely use of it.
Okay. That's good for me. Any other questions from the council? I'd just say, yeah, I would, as long as we understand that's how the money's gonna be spent, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're gonna do some special
Yeah.
project that's not been approved by the council.
Okay. I don't think we voted on this yet, did we?
No, the whole.
I'm good with the outcome though. I mean, we don't have a motion or anything, but
I don't know why that's still sitting there. I'm gonna take the motion and then see if it flips it out.
Okay. I will make a motion that we adopt file resolution number 2023-2178. Do I have a second?
Second. Sorry. I'll second.
Motion by Benson, second by Burdick. Anything further on this item? Okay, please vote.
Councilmember Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
thank you. Have a good night.
Item 2 is common council announcements. Any announcements from the council? Seeing none. Item 3, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Williams. Second by Marshak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. That was motion by Williams, second by Marshak.
Thank you.